everyone and welcome to the final episode of the Mytimeatsandrock series. I know I left you guys on a mean cliffhanger last time, so I worked extra hard to get this episode out as soon as possible. I don't have much more to say about my intro, let's just get right into it, so without further ado, sit back, relax, maybe grab a snack, and enjoy the video. Waking up on day 101, I met up with a few of the townies to discuss our battle plan. The Civil Corps, Trudy, Heidi and Hugo will stay on the plaza with me to fend off any attackers. Not long after that, they arrived with the airship. Duvos is here in Sandrock. The air cannon was incredibly satisfying and fun to use. All my hours invested into Call of Duty finally paid off. Our defenses were strong. We were doing pretty good fending off any Duvos soldiers when suddenly Matilda ambushed me and destroyed the cannon. Yep, she's the Devosian spy we've been looking for all this time, known as Tiger. Oh yeah, and Penn is also here, but again, we already knew he was evil. Despite all our efforts, we were defeated and now we're the ones in jail. To make matters even worse, Jan is also back. How unfortunate indeed. He introduced me to Commander Lefu, who wants me to make him a jacuzzi. He promised, as long as I do my job as a builder, nobody gets hurt. To make sure I behave myself and don't sabotage any of their plans, I have Warden Steph watching over me. And unlike all of the other soldiers around, this guy is super friendly, for like, no reason.
Yeah, I can't really tell you, I'm afraid. Just know that we'll be out of here soon, and we're not supposed to hurt anyone while we're here. Those are my orders. I don't know if I should have even told you that.
The whole town felt different that day, almost dystopian. All the townies are locked up in either their apartment complex or at the church, being watched by these strange people. After crafting the jacuzzi, I saw Get stopping by the workshop. He was just a distraction so that I can talk in peace with Logan. He's been hiding out in the old cave, waiting for the trial to start, so he didn't even realize at first that we were under attack. We need to free everyone fast, but before we can do that, we have to take out the turret in front of City Hall, which was being heavily guarded. To cause a distraction, he wants to set up a bomb at the commander's place, but I had an even better idea. Let's place the bomb inside the jacuzzi. I installed the explosive jacuzzi inside the commander's house, and once the bomb went off, I met with Ged and Logan at Martel Square to start our liberation, where we come face to face with Jan and his goons. Who went down rather quickly. This was kind of a pushover. First we freed Justice and Unsure from jail. While they're heading to the saloon, we took on the soldiers inside the apartments, and last stop was the Church of the Light.
Builder, you betrayed me! I trusted you. I even recommended you to Duvos HQ. But no, you decided to side with these peasants. Now your beloved mayor will suffer the consequence!
Commander Lefu was about to shoot Trudy, but she had a trick up her sleeve, gracefully punching him in the gut while Logan shot at him. The commander had really cool looking dual daggers, wish I could have those, and even a grenade launcher. Despite all that, the three of us combined managed to overcome the commander, and with that, we have successfully taken back Sandrock. Man, these guys really suck at their job. While we did manage to fight back and get rid of the Duvos forces, it is too soon to celebrate since Penn and Matilda are still out there, doing whatever it is they're doing here. The Duvos airship is up at the northern plateau, and Elsie suggested that the Martel Duck Daisy could bring us up there. For that I crafted a hanging basket, mounted it onto Daisy, and together with Justice, Unsure, Grace and Logan, we flew to the plateau. The airship was stationed above a large platform, and it seems like they were trying to excavate something big. Grace will stay behind on Daisy to try and disable an engine or two, while Justice, Logan and I headed inside the unknown facility. The Starship ruins are absolutely massive, and as the name suggests, this used to be an old spaceship launch pad. Further down, we eavesdropped on a bunch of Duvos soldiers. They were looking for a specific engine and a wicked battle robot. That doesn't sound too good. Most of the levels here had these lasers on the wall, which were so incredibly annoying to deal with. This was the first area in the game where I actually felt a bit underleveled for, so thank god I had Justice and Logan with me. Otherwise this would have been rough, not gonna lie. Near an old elevator, Logan spotted a mark on the wall which was used by his paw whenever he encountered monsters. That means that he was here in the very same old ruin when he was still alive. By the way, this is also where we found the secret telegraph machine. Heading further down into the ruin, we spotted Pen next to a massive engine they were trying to pull up. At one point I went into a random room and got swarmed with lasers. That has to be a Resident Evil reference. I had to solve a little puzzle that allowed me to turn the lasers against the soldiers and the robots in here, so now they won't pester me anymore. And I love how they just stand there and not even react to the damage. It's so funny. In the very same room, we found a few belongings of Howlett. And now we finally understand what he tried to tell Logan in his last moments. This is what he was referring to. This is the old ruin he was in and found Duvos' dirty little secret. Logan handed me his pa's old shotgun, so now I have a new ranged weapon. Don't mind if I do. I didn't realize until after recording this, but he also gave me his dad's journal. Basically, he wrote about how he ended up in the ruin, and it seems like back then, Pen was already in town. Speaking about it, as I was trying to cut the ropes from the engine, we got attacked by Pen. I'm getting really tired of fighting this guy. He was about to unleash his relic weapon upon us, so Logan pushed me and Justice aside, but this got us separated for a moment.
Find a way to cut the engine! I'll keep him here!
We can't leave you here, Logan! Logan! Dang, door!
At the same time, Pen revealed to Logan that it was him who killed his dad. He knew that if his pa told anyone about this facility, they'd be locked up within a heartbeat, so he ended up poisoning Howlett. Which I find insanely cowardly, even for someone like Pen. Like, holy crap, I didn't expect that twist at all. While those two were fighting outside, Justice and I came up with a plan to distract Pen. We just need something shiny where he can see his reflection, and conveniently there was a reflective fragment laying on the ground. I broke the power console and joined the battle. It was time to finally get rid of Pen once and for all.
You're too late! This is over.
It's over, Pen! Surrender!
We don't have time for this!
While Justice stayed behind to deal with the arriving Duvos forces, Logan and I went even deeper into the ruins. Also, I got Pen's relic weapon after defeating him. Makes me feel like that one guy from Street Fighter. On the lowest level of the ruins, we found none other than Matilda, or rather, Mecha-Tilda. She plays the old woman card, saying that she's just being loyal to her home country and that she has children back in Duvos. Yeah, you're not fooling anyone with that crap. Similar to the Caretaker boss fight, Mecha-Tilda has these shields around her that we need to destroy in order to deal damage to the robot. And I just have to mention it again, I love the boss designs they have in this game. Such a simple but cool looking robot. I love it.
No! No!
It's over. You've lost.
I will never forgive you!
Angry Matilda do be kinda scary, not gonna lie. This phase was a bit more annoying because she spawned some of her minions inside the arena. Dear game developers, please stop putting ads into boss fights. No one ever said, hey, remember Capra Demon from Dark Souls? Yeah, that was awesome. No. No one ever said that. Ever. Smaller robots and soldiers aside, this fight was pretty sick. I really enjoyed that. Logan and I defeated Matilda, but she didn't want it to give up so easily.
Surrender to the Alliance. Never!
Heavy damage identified. Emergency mode engaged.
You darn machine! Come on! Get up! Get up!
Emergency egress system engaged.
I've got you now! Emergency! What?
Ejection in 3, 2, 1.
Did she
She... Justice!
Did I miss all the action?
It wasn't much.
Now that Matilda was taken care of, we headed back outside, where we saw that the Alliance of the Free Cities finally came to our aid. The last cutscene we see that day is Matilda casually flying in space, and potentially some foreshadowing for the next game? Who knows? We rejoined with our friends at the Yakmel farm and celebrated our victory against Duvos. Matilda, Pen, and most importantly Jan are no more. Sandrock is safe at last. But what now? I finished the main story, so what's next? Yeah, don't worry, there's still so much more to do in this game, trust me. At an emergency town meeting, we get introduced to everyone's favorite non-befriendable NPC, Commander of the Alliance Forces, Avery. And I cannot wait to properly meet this guy in my time at Evershine. I mean, look at him and his dazzling yellow eyes. For my outstanding work against the Duvos conspiracy and defending the town in need, I received a Medal of Honor from the Commander. The Sandrock Hero Medal, to be precise. And by the way, Pen isn't dead, he is currently at the Civil Corps prison until the Alliance will take care of him. Out of curiosity, I'd love to know what he says to you if you ended up romancing him, because this is the last conversation you can have with him. So if I have any Pen lovers watching, then feel free to enlighten me in the comments down below. The Starship abandoned ruins are open for exploration now, as well as the hazardous ruins. Now that Matilda is gone, Sandrock doesn't have a minister anymore. Trudy wants Burgess to take over the role as our new minister. He seems like the most obvious choice, so it makes the most sense to me, but he doesn't quite believe in himself. Danby, Trudy and myself tried our best to persuade him, but it just wasn't working. Until Unsure arrived, who suggested that maybe he just needs a fancy hat to give him a confidence boost. I mean, I'm wearing a cool hat, so he might be onto something here. Director Chi was questioning Justice about the Starship ruins we found, and he was absolutely ecstatic once he heard the name of the spaceship, being the Olympia. This means that the people from the old world managed to travel to the stars, and some of them might even still be out there, a few lucky ones who survived the day of the calamity. Matilda's robot had a mysterious chip inside, being the RX-76, which was used in a sword called the Plasma Saber. And this is where I can finally get to use the broken sword I found a while ago in the old cave. The director said that this is gonna take a few days to restore, and I am already super curious how this is gonna look like. While we wait for that to finish, I had a chat with Miguel. He's still convinced that he did the right thing in taking Duvos' side. Weapons and all sorts of old world technology should not be used according to him, and he believes that the Free Cities are on the path of doom once more. A bit hypocritical if you ask me, since Duvos is also using relic weapons. Maybe he will understand at some point. The rest of the day was spent up at the northern plateau, where I found ceramic scrap, new trees to chop down, gold ore and a new fishing spot. Pen sent me one last letter on 105, where he wrote about his most powerful possession is hidden deep within the ruins. Thanks, I guess. The mysterious man is back in town, where I purchased the pet brand from him, and with that I can finally rename my gecko companion. I ended up with the name Rango. If you know, you know. The Alliance forces were leaving today, taking Pen and the rest of the Duvos soldiers with them. Avery doesn't have much dialogue while he was here a few days, so I'm very excited to see him again. Ever since I made the electric kiln for Amira, her business became more and more profitable. Her products are so popular that she can only sell one ceramic piece per customer. And now the mysterious man wants to sell her pieces as well. Oh, now all of a sudden you're interested? She will only accept the deal if he pays the full price for each piece, and he will only get a dozen at the beginning. A hard bargain, but this guy is so slimy, I'm surprised she even made him an offer in the first place. They agreed on a deal, and I also got my money back, which I loaned them a while ago. I commissioned an advanced cooking station, the second last diagram that I'm missing, then I met with the director near the Starship ruins entrance. As I said before, this is a huge discovery for him, so I guess he will be hanging around this place for quite a while now. I went to check out the first level of the ruins myself, where I can find zinc and titanium ore, along with some new artifacts. After that I gave Burgess the finished minister hat, and it seems like Unsure was right. This immediately gave him a confidence boost for his first sermon. I upgraded my forging machine to the max, made myself a pair of gemstone daggers, and refined both the aluminium pick and axe. So now I finally have some good stats. 106 was the day of Logan's and Haru's trial. This was a sensitive matter, since at the end of the day, they were still bandits. Yes, Matilda turned out to be the bad guy, but we cannot ignore what they did in the past, like stealing money and the train robbery. Both of them knew what they did was wrong, and they are ready to face the consequences. In this case, that would be from 5 to 1 season in jail and a 50,000 to 500,000 gold fine. Despite all that's happened, most people are in an agreement that they should get a lighter punishment due to the fact that they helped us save Sandrock. From the water conspiracy, Penn and Miguel, the Duvos attack, and of course ex-minister Matilda. I also voted for them to get a lighter punishment. Now that everyone had said their piece, City Hall will decide later about Logan's and Haru's sentence, and with that, the trial was over. I refined the gemstone daggers, and once again, they were not worth the materials. They are a tiny bit better than the alloy ones, by like 10 attack points, or whatever. I followed one of my side mission markers all the way out next to the moisture farm to a random cave. Inside were a few high-level mobs and a lone treasure chest, which was the treasure Penn wrote about in his letter. This was your most powerful possession? A diamond and a bit of money? I mean, thanks for the free stuff, but I was expecting a bit more. Logan and Haru are no longer marked as bandits, so I can finally start taking down the wanted posters around town. At Martel Square, I saw a man that looked awfully similar to our buddy Yan. Justice wanted to lock him up in prison, which is getting fuller every day now, but Yan was still there. This is Wei, Yan's twin brother, and he's here to take on the job as our new commissioner. Oh yeah, Logan and Haru are also behind bars, but they only have to stay there for a few days though. Wei is the complete opposite of Yan. He's kind, thoughtful, hardworking, and just a really sweet guy. Classic good and evil twin situation. There will be a Commerce Guild meeting soon where we can talk more about future plans. Burgess had his first sermon as a minister today. I'm not a religious person, but it seems like he was doing well. I decided to explore the first level of the hazardous Starship ruins. I very much underestimated this area. I took heavy damage while going through here, but eventually I came to the end of the level. The reason why I went here was because of the ruins token that you can acquire, a special currency used at the vending machine. I was in the mood for a new outfit, so I got my hands on the cool warrior set. It's the same version as the one that I'm wearing, just with a different color palette. And that was an absolute waste of tokens because I ended up with the Royal Desert Warrior set anyways. I have no idea where I got this from, I just saw it in my inventory and I like that one a bit more. If you've seen my latest Stardew run, you know I'm an indecisive person when it comes to fashion. And because I simply cannot help myself, I purchased another set from the Commerce Guild store, the Kitty Duster. Though this one I have to craft on my own, along with a pair of titanium daggers. I upgraded the tailoring machine and started working on the kitty boots. I noticed that I can now select rare scrap to include in my daily deliveries from the salvage company, then hung around the Starship ruins and collected materials. I do this almost every day now, so I won't mention this anymore. Justice was waiting for me outside my house on Thursday. People have been hearing strange noises near the canyon and he wants me to help him investigate later. I gave Ernest a birthday present, and after 4 PM I headed to the Commerce Guild. Mayor Judy introduced everyone to our new commissioner, Wei. Heidi was also present, so we can discuss our next step for the road project. Heidi's team stopped drilling about a quarter of the way through the mountain, but to be able to continue, we need to make steel frames to reinforce what they already dug out. The thing is, Heidi already requested these frames a while ago, back when Yan was still working here, but they are nowhere to be found. Turns out that Yan melted them down and resold them as scrap. Additionally, there are countless other commissions that Wei has no records of. So to summarize everything, not only did Yan straight up steal other people's work, he also never paid for overtime, underreported wages, took credit for our work, and even stole rating points. Look, I know that Matilda and Penn turned out to be the main villains, but I still think that Yan is the absolute worst of them all. I played a lot of video games in my life, and rarely has anyone made my blood boil this much like Yan did. What an absolute scumbag. The tip of the iceberg was the large amount of money he stole from the guild, or more like from all of us, even from Yan. 500,000 gold to be exact. Funny enough, Jan was also stealing money from me, but then he just stopped suddenly. I didn't really have an explanation for that. If I have to guess, I'd say he kinda liked me and hoped that maybe I would join Duvos at some point. No idea. In any case, Wei is the best and most honest person alive, and he gave the stolen money back to all of us. Yeah, even the 500,000 for Mian. Heidi still needs those steel frames, so I queued up 10 of them at the assembly station, and after the sun went down, I met with the Silver Corpse near the canyon. We hung around for a while, then started hearing strange noises, and suddenly we spotted a purple lizard crawling up from the canyon. It is in fact a giggler. Haven't seen one of these guys ever since the Gecko Station incident. He passed out on the floor, and since he didn't seem hostile, we brought him over to Dr. Fang's clinic. On 110, I finished the last piece for the kitty set. It looks really cute, aside from the weird helmet. The reason why I wanted this so badly is because of the great stats it had. The unupgraded chest piece alone gives me over 40 more defense, plus 1000 health points. That's kinda crazy. It was a glorious day for me because Jan was finally leaving town, accompanied by an Alliance soldier of course. He's gonna be locked up in the Ataran Correctional Facility and hopefully for a very long time. The soldier had a few questions for me. Since I worked so long for Jan, I'm a key witness, and if anyone had something good to say about him, he'd get a reduced sentence. Yeah, you wish, buddy, you wish. I told him that I've never seen Jan work inside the workshop, ever. I've been saying this since day one, this guy never lifted a finger. Obviously, that meant his workshop points were also fake. You simply cannot get points if you're not working, it's just how it is. And the last question was if I could say anything about Jan's charming personality. I love how many options you get here. The developers, they know what they're doing here. They know there's not a single person out there who likes Jan. I looked at this for a solid 5 minutes and I thought 0 redeeming qualities seemed like the best answer. Now that I see it again, maybe I should have taken you would have a difficulty finding a worse person anywhere, but regardless, he's gone now. Finally, I don't have to see this loser anymore. Now that that's over with, I requested the final diagram from the director, the one for an advanced jewelry machine, and with that I have unlocked every single diagram available from both of the lists. There's probably still a few story related ones, but at least now I don't have to check here anymore. Grace let me know that she'll be going back to Atara tomorrow morning. I do hope that she comes back to visit us at some point. Would be a shame if that was the last time we see her. I understand it's her job and all, but it's still sad that she had to go this soon. There was a bunch of new crafting recipes at the Commerce Guild store, but I'll wait on buying these for now as I was saving up on another yard expansion. Logan and Haru are out of prison from today on. Like I said, they had a very short sentence, which means I can finally start befriending this guy. Today I visited Miguel again. He's had a lot of time to think about his past actions, and it seems like he had a change of heart. When he shared the cell together with Pen and that one Duvos commander, he tried to talk with them about his beliefs to try and find common ground, but the only thing Lefu wanted after all was more land for his people. Nothing more, nothing less. I keep forgetting that he still doesn't even know what Matilda and Pen were trying to do here, so I shared the knowledge that I had. They were trying to excavate one of our old ruins for a powerful military engine. Ironic indeed. I do feel for him. He believed he was doing the right thing, in a weird and messed up way, but still. I wonder how long he's gonna stay in here, and if he's actually allowed to still live here after his sentence is over. Last thing I did that day was to visit Logan in his old home. Together with him, Haru and Andy, we cleaned up any dirt around the house. Also, I didn't realize this at first, but Logan isn't wearing his mask anymore. How about that? Sunday morning, I said my final goodbye to Grace. She even gave me an old photo so that I can remember her. Surely, this isn't the last time we see her. But for now, she's off to Atara. Justice reminded me that we still have this pink robot that we got from the Rat Queen. He wants to ship it off to Atara so that they can study it, but Heidi and I actually wanted to keep it here. To be able to use it, I just need to make a power cell and repair some of the damaged parts. I had enough money now to finally expand my yard once more. These upgrades are getting ridiculously expensive at this point. I rearranged my machines and buildings at the construction junction, you know how it goes, expanded the house a bit, and even added a second floor. After this, I was completely broke. I couldn't even afford a door for the room expansion, but I'll come back to that once I have more money again. I crafted the power cell later and repaired the robot. Her name is Rosie, and it seems like she's only responding to my commands. Justice was still against keeping her here, but it doesn't seem like she's hostile anymore, so she was allowed to roam around freely. It is the first day of summer, and I had Logan waiting outside my house this morning. People sure love hanging around my place. He's here to do his community service and asked if he could assist me with anything today. Since I still want to do more ruin diving, I said that we could go on an adventure together. Okay, fine, I pressed be my boyfriend for the day, but he wasn't having any of that, so adventure time it is. The second level of the Starship ruins is pretty tough, and I didn't really want it to go through here alone, so together with Logan, this was a lot easier. Well, sort of. Sometimes he just stood there without doing anything, but yeah, with that, I completed every level of the hazardous ruins. Day 114 started off with a cutscene. We see Heidi's team finishing up inside the tunnel when suddenly a giant worm popped out of the ground and started attacking the workers. My favorite enemy. Some of us were called to an emergency meeting to find a solution for our new monster problem. Justice said that we could get rid of them pretty easily, but we need something that keeps them from coming inside the tunnel for good. It seems like the creatures are only attracted by noise, and to tackle that, Elsie suggested that we should build a monster whistle, a device invented by Howlett which produces a range of high frequencies that can keep any monster away. As I was checking my mail for the diagram, I got jump scared by Heidi and Rosie. Because I am the most beautiful person, according to the mirror, she will only respond to me and no one else. Rosie wants to work in my yard, help around the workshop, and who am I to turn down a free servant? Yes, please. Besides helping around the yard, Rosie can also give me a makeover, which is nice I guess, but I'm good. For now her abilities are pretty basic, she can collect all the stuff from my machines and also refill the water tank, but if I want her to do more, I need to find or buy more of her upgrade chips. While strolling around town, I saw Heidi talking with Haru. He wants to go to a university, but is unsure if he has the qualifications for that.
What if my self-taught methods don't allow me to fit in at Catori World?
Exactly. Heck, I used to squabble with my professors all the time. I got back to Sandrock and realized I was learning way more being on the job than I did from lectures.
Huh? You used to argue with your teachers? Were you allowed to do that?
I used to argue with some of my teachers. They're just humans, like the rest of us. I met with Logan and Elsie in front of the tunnel entrance to start installing the whistles. I don't even know why Elsie was here. She didn't do anything, she just stood around and watched us fight, so that's cool. I get that she doesn't want to fight the animals, but then don't be a monster hunter. That's kinda like a big part of the job. Anyways, after some time, we reached the end of the long tunnel, where an old friend was waiting for us. This time she was helping us fight though. I knew how to deal with this guy, just stand in the back and shoot with the rifle. Peak gameplay. Once we defeated the worm, I broke open the last pit of the tunnel, installed the final whistle, and we enjoyed the beautiful view across the southern Eufaula. The tunnel is safe again and almost completely done as well. My grinding in the Starship ruins paid off that day as I reached the final level where I can find every single type of ore in the game. So now whenever I'm low on something, I can just go here instead of having to pay a fee for all of the different locations. The next morning I had once again Logan outside my house. He let me know that Haru will be leaving the day after tomorrow to go and study in Atara. Logan is gonna host a farewell party at his old hideout and I am invited to join them as well. Mint is back again in Sandrock. He's here to give us an update on the Portia road and they already completed their tunnel, same as we did. With the tunnel being finished, we can now move over to the next and final step, paving the road and building a bus station. One of the main reasons why we started this whole project was to get more water supplies, so I'll be handling the commissions for a water tank bus. At the Silo Corp's office, Justice awarded Unsure with the deputy title. Also, Unsure is in jail because his pet rock Wilson landed in the oasis and he jumped inside the water to save him, even though that's illegal, that's why he's in jail, but Justice made up a loophole so he can out there sooner because he just cannot be bothered with that right now. He wants me to make a new hat for him. He even came up with a whole new design, being the super deluxe deputy hat. I crafted one for Unsure and one for myself. I do like it, but I still prefer the Yak Boy hat. The following morning I got immediately teleported to the clinic because our lizard friend has finally woken up. At first it seemed like he was suffering from a severe memory loss, but after another blackout, he remembered that his name is Larry and he is the president of the Gigglers? What? You mean the very first boss we encountered? A silent demon looking guy? A dude must have lost like 100 kilos or something. There's a whole lot of Giggler lore that gets thrown around here. They have some sort of holy book where it's written that the Gigglers have to take over Sandrock or something, but it turned out to be a random company handbook with a few turnout pages. In any case, I do feel kinda bad for him. He lost his family, his job, and he doesn't even have a home anymore. Trudy offered to help him out and said that he's allowed to stay until he gets better. Back at my workshop, I got the diagram for the bus as well as the station sign. The bus design is the exact same one you make in Portia. It's so cute, I love it. I did some sand fishing while waiting for time to pass, and after 6 PM, I met up with the boys at their old hideout. Logan and Andy were getting the food ready, and in the meantime, I helped Haro pack some of his stuff. I do think it's a bit weird that he's already leaving. I mean, they've only been back in Sandrock for what, 1.5 weeks? Haro even said himself that he doesn't want to leave anytime soon, and now he kinda is.
Flashback.
I don't see myself going to Atara anytime soon. Very well, Logan. I'll hold on to this for us, if it'll make you feel better. But you should know, I don't plan on leaving you and Andy behind anytime soon.
End of flashback.
I understand that he wants to study and all, but I feel like he should have stayed a little bit longer. Just my 2 cents. But never mind that, Haro introduced me to his goat Merle, and since he cannot exactly take her on the train, he asked if I could take care of her while he's gone. I mean, obviously I'm gonna take care of Merle. Look at her, she's the most adorable creature on the planet. Well, along with my boy, Nemo of course. We ended the night with some slightly burned but delicious food that Logan made. And on Saturday, we accompanied him to the train station and waved goodbye. Man, I'm spending a lot of time at the train station lately. It wasn't only us 3 who were here, Merle also came to say farewell to Haro. Goats are a special type of mount that cannot be bought from the store, and dear lord, she is fast. Really fast. As I was running around with my new friend, I found this new structure next to the Sonash Bridge, which I assume is gonna be the upcoming bus station. I came across Unsure inside the saloon. He seemed kinda down, so I offered him some company. This was kind of a weird conversation. First he talked about being the new deputy. It's all he ever wanted in his life, but it didn't change anything. That everything is still the same. And suddenly the conversation was about us two. And...
well, whatever happens, I want you to know I love you.
Okay? Why, dude? There are flirt options in the game, indicated by the heart next to a dialogue line, and I swear to god, I've never pressed that once when talking with Unsure. Like, I like Unsure, but not in that way. I thought he would elaborate a bit more on that, but nope, he just stood up and left. So... anyways, I was busy with remodeling. Now that I have some money again, I attached a second floor onto the house and decorated inside. Which continued on Sunday. And yeah, I mean it's not perfect, but it definitely looks more organized now. I installed the notice board near the newly built bus stop, and that's about it. I didn't really do anything else that day. I guess I was still mentally recovering from the conversation I had with Unsure yesterday. Moving on to day 120, where we see our very first bus ride happening from Sandrock to Portia. From now on, we'll be getting more water supplies and hopefully also see more tourists around town. With the road project being concluded, we are officially at post-story endgame content. What does that mean? Well, there's still a few main missions and a good chunk of side story quests, but it's not like before where I had a main mission almost every day. So to keep it interesting for you guys but also for myself, I made a few personal goals at this point. First off, I want to try and fully upgrade my yard. I'm not really sure if this is actually possible. As I said before, the yard expansions get more and more expensive, and I am limited to only 4 commissions per day, and if I have to skip days just to do commissions that earn a limited amount of gold, that doesn't really sound too fun to me, but we'll just see. Second, I want to catch at least 1 legendary fish. I only learned about those recently, and I have very little knowledge about them, but they exist, and I want me one of those. Lastly, I finally want to romance someone, and if it's not obvious by now, that someone is Logan, because that's what you guys voted for. I don't even know why I had a poll up for this. I already knew beforehand that you guys would vote for him. Grace sent me a letter the next morning. Everything went smoothly back in Atara, and she already jumped right back into that busy lifestyle of hers. Larry was filling in for Logan at the saloon and asked if I could deliver the finished dishes to the customers. Funny enough, he is not a befriendable NPC, so I guess he won't stay in Sandrock forever. Which is a shame, because I actually really like this guy. Even though he did try to kill me once, but I'm not someone to hold grudges. I informed myself about the legendary, or rather king-sized fish that the game has to offer. Turns out that you can catch them at pretty much any sand fishing spot, you just have the right bait for it. Since I had a buttload of sandworms, I was aiming for the Sandfish King. I got bored after a few hours and tried a different kind of bait, and actually had more luck with that. A Sandacuda King appeared, I carefully aimed my trap, and I reeled it in. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. On Wednesday I was once again busy with crafting all sorts of different machines and gadgets at the assembly station, which got donated towards the museum. For contributing exactly 90 items, I received 500 tokens for the game center and an antique billboard. The game tokens was just what I wanted, because with these I can get the Raven's Wing. Really cool looking daggers with good crit damage. I saw they also had a sandfish aquarium. I really wish I checked this a bit earlier, because I just donated the Sandacuda to the museum. Whoops. It didn't matter too much anyways, as the aquarium is massive. I don't have any space for that, so I'll have to expand again at some point. Later that day I was invited to dinner at the Blue Moon along with a few of the other townies. This little get-together was about the future of Sandrock. The road project is done now, so what's next? Well, Mian and Zeke want to plant another batch of trees in the outback, and if this is as successful as the gecko tree planting area, this could block sandstorms almost entirely. The sand at the outback is a lot drier over there, which means we'll need a small irrigation tower, and I offered to build that one. Next up, Heidi proposed to build a new school. There's a perfect spot for that, where Matilda's old house was. There hasn't been a school in Sandrock for many decades, ever since a giant sandstorm quite literally just blew it away. If we get a new education system going, then we might even get more people to move here. To get started on both the school and the water tower, Commissioner Wei sent me a bunch of diagrams the next day. I made all 3 of those at the assembly station, the school clock, irrigation tower frame, and water tank. Mian and I had a look at the school construction, where we bumped into Heidi and Trudy. Turns out that Heidi had a different school model in mind, but due to the recent Duvos attack, there was only so little money left, so they had to settle on a low-budget plan. Mian was curious about the original plan and asked if money was really the only reason why they had to change plan. Mian thinks that the new school building is invaluable to our town, and she offered to donate a meager sum of 500,000 gold. She's been sitting on the money for quite some time and didn't want to use it for anything up until now. Judy didn't want to accept at first, but Mian was adamant about making this donation. In the end, Judy agreed, but she will only take the budgeted amount and not a coin more, since 500,000 is way too much anyways. I had a chat with Zeke later about our new tree planting project. He's not so confident this time, as we don't know how well the algae will perform in the new environment. The plan for now is to plant 100 trees, and then we can take it from there. I made my way over to the new spot, made sure to give Logan a present while he's here as well, and planted over 50 Saxhol tree saplings. Yes, I ended up placing half of those myself, which took ages. And lastly, I built a new irrigation tower. On Friday I had a meeting with Elsie, Logan and Trudy. There's an old outpost in the desert where Howlett used to operate from, and now Logan wants to rebuild it and take over his father's old job. All we need are a few materials to repair the structure, and that is of course my job. For that I only needed a bit of granite, magnesium alloy and acacia wood. Logan will clean up a bit inside, and once that's done, he'll invite me to a little housewarming party. While collecting desert mushrooms later, I saw the bus driving around and I was delighted to find out that yes, you can also ride the bus, same as in Portia. My FPS dropped completely when I'm on this thing, not really sure why. Out of curiosity, I wanted to see how far this will take me. Unfortunately, he dropped me off right before the tunnel. A fierce sandstorm came to welcome us on day 127, as well as a new visitor.
Thank you. It's so hard.
Penny is a musician from Highwind and she's gonna stay a few days in Sandrock. We took shelter at the nearby saloon where I introduced her to Cooper and Hugo. I haven't mentioned this before, but those two actually play in a band called Kugo, and they perform every Wednesday in front of the saloon. I play without music on, so that's why I haven't bothered checking it out before. But anyways, after sharing a few tunes back and forth, they decided to have a fun music competition in a few days from now on. To be able to actually perform, I offered Penny to build a new guitar for her. She needs something really sturdy that can survive the sandstorm and not immediately break like the other one she had. Before doing that, I went back to my workshop where I crafted a fire-powered generator. Basically, it provides fuel for all of my machines, and man, I really wish I made this sooner. It's so handy. While strolling around yesterday, I found an old necklace in one of the random ruins around here. It had a weird symbol on it, which I showed to Hugo. He recognized the metal and said it belonged to one of the most skilled blacksmiths from the old world, a man by the name of Sin. To get more information out of this, we consulted the director. She combined a power stone with it, which made the necklace lit up, and he said that the people of the old world used this technology to mark areas of interest. Now that the beacon is active, I should return to the ruins since this might reveal a new area to me. After that I went to have a chat with Ryan, who was still sleeping in his bed. My guy, it is almost 11:30 in the morning, what are you doing? He said that I need something sturdy, air-dried, drought-resistant, primo wood. I thought for once he would actually help out with his commission, but nope, he just gave me the recipe and then went straight back to sleep.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
I'm just gonna say it, Bambi deserves so much better. I know I said before that I think that both of them are really boring characters, but at least Bambi is actually working around here and doing her part to help out Sandrock. This guy? How does he even afford a house? Anyways, for the new guitar I only needed a bit of acacia wood and metal, which I had plenty of. I crafted one and handed it over to Penny. I met with Logan in front of the outpost where I got to test out my new daggers on some nearby enemies. Once those were taken care of, he showed me around inside, and I have to say, this place sure looks cozy. Last thing I did today was to go back to the ruins where I found the old necklace, where I encountered weird looking robots, called the Guardians of Sin. And while they are a lot lower level than me, they deal a ton of damage with the flamethrowers they have. Inside this room I found a door that opened thanks to the necklace I have on me, which led me to an old workshop building. At least that's what it looked like at first. I repaired the console, blast furnace and cooling equipment with a few materials I found laying around. Upon finishing the repairs, a recorded message started playing by Sin himself. The robots I encountered before are here to protect his most sacred tools, but they're also here to test my strength. I wanted to share this new info with Hugo, but upon returning to town, we were under attack by the Guardians. Not this again. We just had an invasion, guys. Luckily, there was only a few of them around, so together with the Civil Corps, we disposed of any of the remaining robots. Hugo was reluctant at first to activate the forge, since this is an old world relic and it uses alloy from the Age of Corruption. I persuaded him by saying if we don't do it, someone else will do sooner or later. I had to track down more Guardians to get the old world alloy, and once I had 40 pieces, I was able to power the machine. This revealed some sort of molding chamber, and from that, I acquired the Tree of Life. I really enjoy these little missions for unique gear because I think this is optional content they implemented later on, as I don't remember any of this from my first playthrough. Sadly, this is a sword and shield, and I have 0 stats invested into this weapon class, so it was basically useless to me, which is a shame because I love the design of it. Fingers crossed that there's also a mission for special daggers. On Wednesday morning, I met with Trudy, Zeke and Mian at the test planting area. The latest sandstorm completely destroyed the field, but what's even worse, the algae isn't working this time, and for some reason the trees also consume way more water. Well, at least the irrigation tower is still standing. Zeke mentioned that we should contact Professor Law from Highwind to help us find a new solution and study the soil. For now, there's nothing more we can do here. Trudy will send a telegraph to the university and hopefully they'll reach out to us soon. Back in town, I saw that the school building has been finished and I got to meet Jane, our new teacher. She wants to make the classroom feel more homey and asked if I could craft some furniture for that. I had to purchase a bit of salt for the recipes and I noticed that Owen had new products in stock, like perfume apples and royal jelly. This really makes me want to play Portia again. I don't know, maybe in the future. I made one children's tent, a standing lamp and Yak Boy rocking chair, placed the decorations inside the school, and it looks even more cozy now. Sure wish my school looked like this. There was a little get-together in front of the building the next day, also to introduce the parents to Jane, and with that, the school is officially open now. Since this was only possible thanks to Mian's generous donation, the building has been named after her, Mian's Institute of Telesis, or MIT for short. Logan's gotten a tip from a tourist the other day that someone has been using his name to scare people out in some random cave. Obviously he cannot let that slide and asked if I wanted to join in. And of course I said yes. We'll meet tomorrow in front of the outpost. While handing out commissions later, I reached level 50. Which allowed me to craft the Ningulu daggers, however you pronounce that. Today was another City Hall meeting where Trudy introduces us to Professor Law, who came all the way out here to help us with Operation Greenland. Nia came along as well. As we all know, the Little Woods was a great success. Using the algae we found in the shipwreck ruins, everything turned out as we hoped. Our second attempt in the Outback, however, not so much. The algae was not effective enough and the water consumption was way too high. Professor Law is confident that they can figure out a way to make the algae more potent, but the water on the other hand is a completely different problem. Director Chi mentioned that another water shortage would be adverse to his tea drinking habit and asked why we're not just using any of the water from the Starship ruins. Yeah, so turns out there's been an atmospheric water generator sitting right next to us all this time. He just hadn't mentioned it up until this point as he thought it was obvious. Good one, director. Justice and I will check that out a bit later. Right now I had more important matters to tend to, exposing the fake Logan. We made our way to an old desert cave and headed on in. Not too far inside, we encountered a few traps, probably laid by whoever is in here, and heard 2 guys talking in the distance. They went to check out the trap we just triggered, and it seems like Logan actually knew these guys, being Donkey and Mule. Yes, classic bandit names, I guess. We confronted the fools about the fake name they've been using, and apparently they used to work for Logan. Kind of, I guess. They managed to trap a monster down here and just wanted to scare away the tourists so they could deal with the beast in peace. They made a run for it, and Logan suggested that we should check on the beastie ourselves. We went deeper inside the cave, where I got carried away and set off a trap. Logan jumped in front of me and took the arrow, and now we have to deal with the beast. The monster was yet again another tunnel worm. Again, I'm getting really tired of fighting these guys. After we defeated it, we quickly rushed back home since Logan was severely injured. Dr. Fang patched him up as best as he could. He was poisoned by the arrow, but he said he'll be fine. I don't know how I managed to drag Logan out of the cave, considering he is twice the size of me, but somehow I did. My new weapon was finished once I returned to the workshop. Unfortunately, it's a greatsword and not a dagger. The next upgrade I was looking for was the Runium, but I am missing the materials for that. It's a running joke at this point. Today was the big showdown at the Blue Moon stage. Both Kugo and Penny played a short song of their liking, and after that everyone got to vote for whoever we think was better. I ended up voting for Penny simply because I like her and I think she's cute. And I also don't like Cooper. It came down to a tie, and once Hugo wanted to reveal the last paper, Banjo jumped on his head, which made him drop the vote, and it flew away. Well, now we're never gonna find out who won, but Penny said that it doesn't really matter. All that counts is that they had fun, and in the end, they decided to team up and play an encore together. Which I'm not gonna play here as I am scared of getting copyrighted. Seriously, it happens like every second video I upload. With the show being concluded, Penny left for Portia the following morning. She thanked me once again for making the guitar, and she's off to catch the new bus. I met with Chi and Justice near the Starship ruins, and we began our search of finding another entrance that leads to the hidden lab. After a little while, we found it and headed inside. Chi immediately spotted the water generator, which was far larger than he ever expected it to be. He ran ahead to find the control room, and we followed in close pursuit. This place wasn't really any different from the Starship ruins. It looked almost identical inside, so I don't think I need to show this. Once we found the control room, the director confirmed that the generator is still intact, and even better, it has an automatic maintenance system built into it. Now we just have to share the good news with Trudy and somehow connect everything with the town. Later that day, I went to check up on Logan, where this happened. What? What is this game? And why are you half naked?
Don't go.
Am I allowed to show this on YouTube? And with that, we are officially dating. Only took 130 days, but it was worth the wait. I really enjoy how much love the devs put into the romance system. It's unlike any other game I've played. Well, aside from The Sims, I guess. Sure, I could have given Logan the heart knot a long time ago, but then I would have never seen this magnificent cutscene. I couldn't possibly miss out on that. We're skipping ahead to 134 for an early fireside meeting. Despite the incoming water supplies from Portia, it's still not enough, especially now that we want to plant even more trees in the outback, but with the recent discovery of the water reservoir out in the northern ruins, this might solve our water issue once and for all. Heidi already came up with a great plan for that. Since the facility is located on an elevation, it will take less energy to transfer the water. Mason and Yan already connected the auxiliary tank to the Sandrock storage, so all we have to do is to connect the reservoir to the tank here and the water will be in our system. We just need a whole lot of big pipes and a pump. I offered to make the ones for the north-south route, and Mian will do the east-west route leading towards the outback. I didn't really have anything else to do that day, so I attended to that right away. I made the pump, 1 bracket, and 3 diversion pipes. I installed the first batch next to the moisture farm and the rest near the facility. I honestly don't know how I transport these massive pipes around. I know this is a game and all, but it always looks so silly seeing these ginormous metal structures made and carried around by a single person. Mayor Trudy said this calls for an official ceremony to declare this project successful, and asked if I would do the honor of cutting the ribbon. I mean, duh, of course I would. The ceremony was on Wednesday morning.
Thank you, Builder, Commissioner Wei, Mian, for your efforts in bringing the water project to fruition. Thank you everyone for your support and generous donations. And thank you to Director Chi for finding the reservoir. This was truly a united effort, and now I hereby officially declare the city-state of Sandrock no longer has a water shortage.
The oasis is filled to the brim with water now, so much so that we can no longer cross between the rocks in the middle. So that's a bit unfortunate. Might need a bridge for that in the future. Right after the ceremony, we had a smaller town meeting. Even Larry was here. Professor Law has been conducting over 100 experiments on local samples ever since he arrived here with Nia, which has given him valuable info on the algae and soil. The soil quality in the outback is completely different from the one closer to town. The moisture level is so low, making it unsuitable for water retention. I mean, okay, we already knew that. Together with Logan, the professor went to check on the algae we found in the shipwreck ruins, but it was all the same type. He believes that these old world ships must have a laboratory close by where they could test the algae samples. And conveniently, Logan remembered seeing a place like this. Back when his dad was still alive, they chased a bunch of gigglers to an old world ruin not far from the Portia tunnel. They had to return after a short while as they both gotten a severe headache once they entered the facility. Larry recognized the location based off Logan's description, and turns out this is actually the Giggler headquarters. He offered to come with us and disable the machines inside that gave Logan a headache, as it seems like the Gigglers are unaffected by the noise it creates. We'll also need the mobile suits since the entrance is blocked off by a bunch of rocks. Earlier I've gotten a letter from Nia, who invited me to come check out Mount Roxand as there's a famous tree located at the very top of it. I made my way up to the mountain, which gave me a pretty nice view over the new waterfall we have, thanks to the increased water supplies, and there's even a permanent rainbow sitting across the bridge. I got to install a new yak mill station on the peak, where I met again with the professor, Mian, and Nia. This tree is known as the Mountain Widow. Back when the first people settled in Sandrock, there used to be a lot more of them, but now there's only one of a kind left. This tree is so incredibly old, it somehow managed to survive the Age of Darkness. The professor believes that it may be near impossible to save this tree as it's been withering away for so long, but he'll try to study it as best as he can as long as he remains in Sandrock. By the way, the panorama view up here is absolutely breathtaking. I don't know how well this game runs on consoles, but on my PC, this is butter smooth. On 137, I got the diagram for a mini power drill. This is in fact not for the mobile suit, I can just carry that around myself, which is pretty handy. Once I destroyed all of the boulders, I headed inside the lab, accompanied by my two besties. Larry already went ahead to turn off the machine inside. He was supposed to rendezvous with us at the entrance, but he was nowhere to be seen. Not too far in, we heard lizard sounds coming from a distance, both from Larry and a female lizard by the name of Xena. I pressed on further ahead exploring the lab, and let me tell you, this place was A-grade creepy. There was tons of old notes and logs laying around, and I'm not the person to read a lot of stuff in-game, but this was really interesting. Basically, these scientists that used to work here created the Gigglers, and probably every other hostile enemy we see. And even worse, they used to experiment on them. One note revealed that this guy felt a strong bond to one of the lizard hatchlings, as she reminded him of his own kid that had passed away. Every single experiment has chips implanted into their brains, which kinda reminded me of the evil within. Like I said, being here genuinely made me uncomfortable. After reading up on more creepy Sandrock lore, we found ourselves in yet again a suspiciously large and open room. You know what that means. In the middle of it we see Larry and Xena held hostage by Gary, the new Giggler president. While Nia held off Gary, I dealt with the random mobs around the arena. Meanwhile, Logan just watched from the side. He was completely buggy during this mission. I don't think he killed a single enemy, so that's always nice. Alone, Gary was relatively easy to deal with, as every mob, and even bosses, get stunned by ranged weapons, which just never gets boring. Gary has been defeated, and Larry reunited with his wife, Xena. I salvaged the advanced algae incubators, and as we wanted to return, Larry said that he'll be staying behind so he can settle things with Gary and the company. We showed the algae samples to the professor, who went straight away to the lab so he can start working on the new incubators. And on the very next day, Nia already informed me about the research they conducted. Boy, people sure work fast here. Do you even sleep at all? The algae is exactly what we were looking for. It's not only rich in nutrients, but also has a decent water retention. As expected, we need new incubators to produce the higher quality algae. I crafted one, same as Mian and Wei, and we installed those inside the moisture farm. I handed Logan a birthday present, which fully maxed out my relationship with him. Then I had a chat with Chi, as he finally restored the broken sword I gave to him weeks ago. Since I was the one who found it, he actually allowed me to keep the finished design, rewarding me with the Alter RX-76. And honestly, this might be the coolest weapon in the entire game. Now I'm more of a hammer, greatsword, big weapon type of person, which is ironic considering I've been using tiny daggers this whole time, but in any other game. Though this katana is so much fun, brings me straight back to Sekiro. I went back to the lab later because there's a brand new area sitting right next to it, ready for exploring. Also the perfect opportunity to test out my new ninja sword. Besides a million enemies strolling around, I found new materials like sand coral, nano waste, which I've been looking for quite a while now, poplar and agave trees, and the last sand fishing spot on the map. Here I can find every single type of fish as long as I have the right bait on me, and what do you know, 2 minutes later a king-sized fish appeared. I caught it, and with that obtained the Horned King Ader. This time I'm not gonna donate it to the museum, that's for sure. To be able to actually use the new materials I found, I purchased a few diagrams from the Commerce Guild shop. Then I had yet another chat with the director, who's been working on a new upgrade for the mobile suit, which should help us drastically with desert farming. I crafted the 2 upgrades, installed both of them, and now we only need a suitable pilot. The director wants to have a little competition between us to see who has more talent as a Gungam driver. For this we need a judge, of course, which Trudy volunteered for. This kinda reminded me of a driver's license test. First she asked a few questions, which I passed flawlessly, and then we had an operational test. For this I just had to pick up a box and transport it from one table to another. Easy peasy. The director, on the other hand, was struggling a bit, to say the least.
I am Gungam.
Trudy announced that I'm more fit to drive the suit, which made me feel kinda bad for the director, but maybe that's for the best. After our little competition, I visited Dr. Fang in his clinic to deliver some homemade mapo tofu. This is a quest I started a very long time ago, and this is for people who want to romance Fang, as he cannot accept hard nuts before doing this. I think, at least. I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest fan of him, if I'm being honest. On Monday morning, I was busy in the outback as the new algae samples were ready for another test planting. As we discussed yesterday, I was allowed to use the mobile suit for that, which significantly sped up the planting process. It is a bit wonky to control this thing, but it was definitely a lot faster as well. After planting over 100 trees, the professor announced his work is done here and he'll be returning to Highwind along with Nia. Justice informed me that the Underlab is now open for exploration. Unlike the hazardous ruins, these areas have waves of enemies you need to fend off, kinda like Call of Duty zombies, and they are much more difficult. I am a bit underleveled even for the first area, and the rewards seem kinda meh, so I never ended up doing any of these. Logan asked me out on our very first date today. We rode together on top of Rambo to a hidden spot out in the desert where he cooked up some food for me. Logan has been writing to Haru ever since he left, and he even told him about our relationship, which I thought was a nice touch. You can go on a date with your partner pretty much every day, but I kind of forgot about this mechanic until after recording everything. I'm not being a bad partner, I'm just an idiot, I promise. The following day, I waved goodbye to Professor Law and Nia. Turns out, she actually never ended up going on that train. Ever since she finished her studies, she's been thinking about moving here, and now it seemed like the perfect time. She can continue her work by helping out Zeke at the moisture farm. Speaking about people and moving, Trudy mentioned that she's gotten a few inquiries from people wanting to move to Sandrock, and asked if I could fix up some of the old buildings around town. For that I only had to repair the exterior, and with that, we welcomed over 8 new residents to our town. All of the newcomers have very basic dialogue lines, and you cannot befriend them, though it doesn't really matter, it's just nice to finally see more people roaming around Sandrock. After doing my usual commissions on Wednesday, I met with Catori, Heidi, Judy, and Justice near the Valley of Whispers. Catori announced that after a lot of thinking and back and forth with her family, she decided to continue working on her dream, Catori World. Now that the game center is bringing in more money, and with the new school building, they decided that her son Allo can now live in Sandrock together with his mom. Catori wants to open an amusement park, and she thinks that the valley would be the perfect location for that. I thought at first this was kind of an odd choice, but upon rewatching this, it actually makes a lot of sense. For a theme park, we need tons of free space. The desert is way too hot and unstable, but the valley seems like the perfect spot for that. Well, aside from the roaming enemies. To be able to make this area secure, we just have to block off the breach down there, as this is where all of the monsters come from. Unsure will stay behind to look for any stragglers outside, while Justice, Logan and myself went to check out the ruins. I had to bring the vacuum cleaner with me as there was loads of green slime inside. Apparently this used to be some sort of shampoo factory. And this is where I finally started to appreciate my ninja sword. I haven't noticed this before, but this thing has a special perk called Lifesteal. And as the name suggests, it recovers a small portion of my health upon defeating an enemy, which is pretty OP. Upon venturing further into the facility, we stumbled upon the control room, and luckily for us, there's still a functional wastewater treatment which can flush out any remaining mutants inside. I had to solve a little puzzle to be able to actually turn on the machine, and that's another mission completed. On 145, I had Logan and a million other people outside my house. He's been venturing out in the desert and came across a treasure map. He asked if I had time to check it out with him, and of course I said yes. I'm always in the mood for an adventure. This led us across the bend, past a new road, to a nearby cliff, which had a lone chest sitting on it. Inside we found a remote control, and upon pressing it, another chest started to pop up. I don't know how you control this with balloons, but I'm not gonna question that any further. But this adventure wasn't about the treasure or the balloons, or Andy and Jess watching us from a distance, but more about what Logan had to say. He wants to spend the rest of his life with me, and to my absolute surprise, this guy proposed to me, right on the spot. I mean, we literally just started dating about a week ago, but I'm on a time schedule here, so of course I said yes. Yeah, so I had no idea that NPCs can propose to you, so I was a bit stunned at first, to say the very least. And I also didn't know that this would immediately trigger the wedding. Thankfully, you can reschedule the ceremony over at the church, which I did, as I wasn't really prepared for that yet. After this eventful morning, I went to the construction junction and expanded my yard once again. I ended up selling the chickens and removing the coop, as this building takes up a lot of space and I never ended up using the eggs and feathers. Sorry guys. I know that Heidi has new buildings available now, being a greenhouse and a room for my machines. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money for any of that. Like I said, yard expansions are a tad bit overpriced in my opinion. So I had to make do with the little money I had left over. Once I was done with the house, I started working on the interior, and while I was running in and out of the house, I had Catori stop by. I basically skipped over everything she said. I do not like getting disturbed while decorating, but to summarize everything quickly, she managed to get a loan from the Free City Bank and is ready to start working on Catori World. For the first stage of the project, she already planned out 3 separate areas: Coaster, Racing, and Toy World. And I'll be getting the diagrams for that soon. She probably said a few other things as well, but again, I was a bit busy at the moment. The new room I added to the house was actually for Andy. Yep, he's gonna move in with me as well, same as Logan. I tried to go for a space theme vibe since I know he's into that kind of stuff, and yeah, I have to say, this is probably my favorite room in the house. I think it turned out pretty cozy. I had a whole bunch of presents scattered around my place this morning. I thought at first it was my birthday or something, but these were actually wedding gifts. I even got a letter from Haru who congratulated us. And as if it couldn't get any more wholesome, while running around together with Logan, I noticed that you can actually hold hands with your partner. This game is adorable. Today I went to check up on the trees we planted in the outback, and it seems like they already fully matured. Even Mort came all the way out here to admire our new little forest. If only trees could grow this fast in real life as well. With the new algae performing so well, there might even still be a chance for the old widow up on Mount Roxand. Nia decided to make it her personal goal to try and revitalize the old tree. I had a chat with the director later and asked if he wanted to design the diagrams for the roller coaster, which he'll send to me soon. In the meantime, I started working on the different park pieces, like bumpers, theme park lights, support beams, and a new sign. In the evening I went to install everything I made, and holy moly, they built a lot over the span of 2 days. This place looks completely different now. On Sunday I received a coaster card and sand buggy diagrams from Chi, as well as a sweet letter from Penny. I didn't think that I would ever hear from her again, so that was a pleasant surprise for sure. In town I stumbled upon Larry and Xena, who were talking to Trudy about moving back to Sandrock. Larry has come to really like it here, and he wants to express his gratitude by helping us to make Sandrock even more beautiful. Instead of a regular house, they want to move into an old cave, and I offered to craft a few furniture pieces for them. Before doing that, I installed the finished roller coaster down in the valley, and of course I had to do a test drive, you know, for safety measures and stuff. With the sand buggy and roller coaster being installed, Catori World is one step closer to being finished. I made the few items for Larry and Xena. The cave they settled in was the one where I found Logan in for the first time near the outback, so it was a bit annoying running through the whole place for like the third time again, but hey, at least I have a new home now. Once I was back at my own place, I remembered the sand aquarium I bought a while ago and I placed it inside my house. I really wish this thing was a bit smaller. It's not exactly pretty either, but now I finally have a place where I can show off my fish. We're skipping over to Tuesday, where I met with Catori early in the morning to pick up her son from the train station. She hasn't seen him for quite a while now and she was noticeably nervous. Aloe will be staying permanently in Sandrock and he's actually a fully fleshed out NPC that you can befriend, so that's interesting. Nia sent me a letter the following day and told me that she has come up with a plan to save Mama Tree. All we need is some sort of life support system that can help her keep going just a bit longer until the soil around Sandrock becomes more nutritious. For that I crafted a fertilizer tank and strapped it onto the tree. Once again, we don't know if this will actually work, so all we can do now is wait. A sandstorm was on the horizon on 151, but thanks to all those trees we planted in the outback, it completely disappeared once it reached our town. Not only are we safe from the sandstorms now, but it started to look a lot greener around here. There's bushes, all kinds of shrubbery, and even smaller trees popping up everywhere. With this, we can now start Operation Flowergate to beautify Sandrock even further. Nia and Mian already designed a few statues before, which are gonna come in handy for this. I went over to Pablo's parlor, where I changed my hair to something more wavy and festive looking. You'll see soon why I did that. Later that day was the opening ceremony for Catori World. She's been dreaming about having her own theme park ever since she was a little kid, and now that dream finally became reality. Since I've been helping so much with the roller coasters and park in general, I was invited to be the first official guest. A lot of people came to witness opening night. Not only people from Sandrock, but also tourists from all over the 3 cities. I mingled with the crowd, chatted with a few, tried out more of the rides, and in general, just enjoyed opening night. Friday was a very special day. It was our wedding ceremony, and that's also why I changed the hairstyle so that everything fits together more nicely. Every single person in town came to the church this morning to witness our ceremony. And what I also really like, everyone has unique dialogue lines after the wedding to make the day even more memorable. I couldn't stay here forever though, I had tons of work to do that day. I swapped back on my regular outfit and honestly, I might just keep the hair like that. I got the diagrams for the different hedge sculptures from Mian, and to my dismay, I have to wait with crafting these as I was missing a particular material. Rose willow to be exact. Which is the only plant in the entire game I haven't cultivated myself yet. Yeah, I was mildly infuriated, to say the very least. On the bright side though, these bushes only take a few days to grow. While we wait for those to mature, I started working on my very own greenhouse. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time now, and now I finally had a bit of money saved up again. I tried my best to make it look nice, but there aren't exactly a lot of decorations available in this game, but I think it came out alright. The greenhouse is incredibly handy as it will automatically fertilize and water anything I plant in here. Again, I wish I was able to make this a bit sooner because I simply don't need a lot of plants anymore, but I was still happy that I built it regardless. I had Burgess stop by earlier, who handed me a few rose willow bushes, which was very much appreciated. However, I still needed a lot more than those. And I also noticed that these statues need limestone for the base, so I was busy with gathering materials for the majority of the day. I got immediately teleported to the Blue Moon on 154 as there was a new chef in town. It was none other than Grace herself. The detective lifestyle was no longer for her, so she decided to quit her job and move back to Sandrock. This time, she's gonna stay for real. While doing commissions later, I noticed just how incredibly lush and green everything is. I know I already mentioned this before, but only now I started to realize this while playing. Like, there's fully grown trees everywhere. It's a bit much, actually. Once I was back at the workshop, I started making the different hedge pieces, which I completed on Monday morning. I placed them at their designated spots around town, and with that obtained the Finishing Touches achievement for beautifying Sandrock. Everyone came together to admire our green shrubs, trees, and now even new sculptures around town. While talking, Trudy noticed that the old widow also looks a lot happier now. We had to check this out ASAP and headed up to Mount Rockstand, where Mort and Zeke were already waiting. Good to see that Nia's project has been successful after all. Speaking about new project and trees, I overheard Mia and Nia thinking about potentially starting a business together. As we all know by now, Nia has a soft spot for plants, and Mia always wanted to have her own shop. Well, besides her workshop as a builder, I mean. In the end, they decided on a flower shop, and I'm not really sure why I was present here. I felt kinda left out if I'm being honest. I offered them to build a display rack for opening day. And while they set up their new business, I had a chat with Pablo. He's been busy designing clothes and wants to host Sandrock's very first fashion show. This is a smaller side storyline I started a while ago. I didn't bother mentioning this because I honestly kinda forgot about it. Pablo has been dreaming about designing his own fashion line ever since he came here, but never had the motivation to set out his plan. Now that Sandrock is green again and also has a lot more tourists, it's the perfect time for a fashion show. He already asked Trudy for permission, and all he needs from me is a stage. A catwalk, to be precise. I crafted it as well as the display case for Mian, handed it over to Pablo, who was brimming with excitement for the upcoming show. Then I was mostly occupied with decorating around the yard. Later we had a fireside meeting where we get this incredibly beautiful overview of Sandrock. Trudy announced that the next quinquennial. Trudy announced that the next quinquennial Free City Alliance Summit, quite the mouthful, is coming up soon, and this year it will be held here in our very own Sandrock. This is the biggest celebration around the Free Cities, so in other words, it's gonna be a banger party. For that, Trudy wants all of us to invite whoever we want, rightfully so. I mean, we have a beautiful town to show off now. The summit will take place over the span of a few days. It's gonna be so busy that there's even an own schedule for each day. They've been really hyping up this event, and I had big expectations at this point. And it gets even more exciting. At yet another meeting, Grace revealed to us that the Alliance wants Sandrock to build their next airship. Turns out that while Grace was back in Atara, she managed to make some friends with the higher-ups, and with Sandrock housing some of the best builders around the planet, it seemed like the most obvious choice. But this isn't just gonna be any regular airship. Remember when we flew the Marteldog up to the Northern Plateau and Grace stayed behind? Not only did she disable an engine, she managed to grab a copy of the newest Victor-class airship diagram. I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds fancy. Burgess reminded all of us that it might be a bad idea to build a warship. You know, the very same one that Duvos used while they were invading us? However, this is not gonna be built for a war, but for greenification technology, so that we can plant even more trees out in the desert. The director mentioned that we'll need a few smaller engines located in the Starship ruins, and I'm allowed to build the actual model of the airship. I mean, who else, really? Starting the next main quest called the 6-Star Commission. She informed me about where to find the engines. It was pretty straightforward, they were just scattered around at the lowest level of the ruins. Then I spent a ridiculously long time looking for cactus flower. Up until this point I haven't found a single one, and I needed these to make medicine for Fang as the doctor was sick. After the sun went down, it was time for the first night of Pablo's fashion show. The first collection was Starlight. Outfits inspired by Sandrock's Starry Night, and hello, Logan! All of the pieces were incredibly cute, but the one that really caught my eye was Nia's. Love that one. I had a feeling that I'm gonna need a lot of materials for the upcoming 6-star commission, so I was mostly busy with gathering materials the next day. And of course, I came to watch the second show again. Tonight was the Summer Heat swimwear collection. This one also had great designs, but definitely not as strong as the Starlight collection. Pablo did mention that you can buy any pieces of his line, and there is a catalog inside the hair salon, but unfortunately I don't think that I can get these for myself. I'm pretty sure this is the DLC pack you can buy, which is only for NPCs, and I didn't really feel like spending any money on that right now. On 163, I got the airship diagrams from the Rector Chi, and with that acquired every single blueprint in my notebook. Material-wise, this was actually kind of a pushover. I already had most of the stuff on me. I'm not complaining or anything, I just thought that it would be a bit more complex for the final commission, but oh well. The airship has 3 major components: the body, 2 front engines, and 2 aft engines at each side. Before installing it, however, I went to check out Mian's and Nia's shop opening. There are a few new plans available now, and I ended up buying all of them. Mama needs more decorations around her house. Mian and Wei already made the airship platform, so all I had to do was to head on over to the ranch and install it. This thing was absolutely massive. I understand now why it's called the 6-star commission. Once I put everything into place, a few of the townies came to marvel at our latest work. Last thing we need now is to come up with a proper name. There was a lot of options displayed before me, but you know what? I wanted to be selfish for once and said, name this thing after me, because I freaking deserve it. Yeah, so Director Chi wasn't so thrilled about my suggestion, which made me a little sad, not gonna lie. Like, why would you even say that, Mom? Thankfully everyone else was okay with my name idea, so SS Sapphire it is. I almost didn't see this, but the ship does actually display my name. Very cool. I spent the remaining day decorating around my house and yard, now that I finally had more plants that I can display. If you watched any of my Stardew videos before, you know I love placing plants everywhere. It's gonna look good no matter what. Wednesday was pretty much the same, just spent the day decorating outside the yard, getting everything nice and tidy, because on 165 was the first day of the summit celebration. Our first guests were the Alliance soldiers arriving with the plane. I think it's a plane, I'm not too sure. Along with the mayors from other cities around the globe. Then our friends from Portia, and lastly we have the train who brought Kaya, I think, who's the mayor from Highwind, not too sure. The first person I got acquainted with was Luna. She's a famous pop star and also Ernest's sister. How about that? I chased after Gale, the current mayor of Portia, and this guy looks just as silly as I remember him. Well, now with a few touched up textures, but still. Of course I had to say hello to Avery, and he introduced me to his friend Gaudi. Now, this conversation was really interesting, as Gaudi is also going to be in my time at Evershine. And I know I already said it a million times, but it's my video and I can do what I want. I am so hyped for the new game they're making. There wasn't really that much going on the first day, I just hung around and chatted with our guests. Later was Luna's concert, which was pretty cool, not gonna lie. Again, I don't know if I'm allowed to play the song here, but you can check out the playlist yourself if you want to. Moving over to the second day of the event, where surprisingly I got to finally see my parents. You receive letters from your mom pretty frequently, which made me wonder if you do ever get to see them, and here they are. Midday was a town meeting where Commander Ling awarded special titles and awards for some of us in Sandrock, like Tusik, who never gave up on our greenification efforts, Mort, who's the oldest settler and always believed in this town, and lastly was the Commerce Guild Top Builder Award, and you already know it, yours truly won that one. Well deserved in my opinion. This was followed by a huge banquet, both inside and outside of the saloon, where we shared a fantastic meal together. I love that I got to sit right next to Avery. Well, I already know who I am gonna pursue in the next game. Director Chi brought his mobile suit to the stage and gracefully presented his new dance moves. Seems like he finally got the hang of the controls. Everyone here has really heartwarming dialogue lines, but who really stood out to me was Princess Lumi. I unfortunately forgot to record that bit, but basically she says that she's finally over Logan, and as soon as she found out that he was a good guy and not a bandit, she immediately lost all interest in him, and that she totally doesn't have a thing for mysterious bad boys. Are you saying that Avery is a mysterious bad boy? Because I have no shame of admitting that I have a problem, unlike you, Lumia. Anyways, the next morning started fresh and early, where we presented our newly built airship to our Alliance neighbors. Judy and Jasmine gave a tour around Sandrock, just like she did when I first arrived here. The tunnel that connects us directly with Portia, the green and lush outback full of trees, and of course, Martel's Oasis, now restored to its former glory. After a very long airship ride that lasted the entire day, Judy asked how I was feeling, and I said, I felt accomplished. Sad, but accomplished. This day concludes with a very beautiful and heartfelt monologue from Judy, and with that, my journey has come to an end. I completed every single main mission the game has to offer, as well as all of the optional quests. While I didn't fully upgrade my yard, it didn't really matter that much to me. I was still very happy with how the house and the garden turned out in the end. I firmly believe that this game is criminally underrated. Not enough people talk about it, even though there's so much love put into everything. The characters, the voice acting, visuals, scenery, and most importantly, in my opinion, the story. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend checking out the game yourself. Even if you watched my playthrough up until this point, it's so worth playing it on your own. I was actually a bit teary-eyed towards the end. I don't really play story-based games anymore, but I'm glad I did now, and came back to Sandrock. Anyways, that's enough rambling from me. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast working on these videos. If you know of any other games that would be great for a 100 days type of series, then feel free to leave a comment down below. I read every single one. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.